So anyways, today we're going to be talking about punishment. Punishment in Tekken is a really important part of Tekken because it's basically to punish opponents for using using unsafe stuff. So typically with Tekken, the higher reward means the higher the risk. So if someone is using punishable stuff, that means they're looking for a big reward. So things like launchers and lows and things like that will tend to be punishable. So what punishment is, it's basically hitting them when they can't block. So if you block something, a move of theirs that is considered punishable, that means they can't block until for a certain period of time and you have a chance to hit them. Also, if they whiff a move, they like completely whiff, they don't hit anything, there's a period of time where you can hit them and they cannot block while they're recovering. So those are the two different types of punishment. We've got block punishment and whiff punishment. Alright, so with block punishment, does everyone here know what frames are? Any questions? So I'm gonna be throwing some numbers around, and we can cover what they actually mean later, but because I don't have a whole, I'm trying to keep these short. But yeah, so anyways, a move that is -10 or worse is considered punishable. Yoshi does have some moves that are faster than 10 frames, but you can't really punish a whole lot of stuff with those. So there's a special case scenarios. -15 or worse is considered launch punishable, because most everyone can launch at 15 frames. There are a few characters that can't, and they just have to suck it up. But Josie's got a 15 frame launch punish. Down forward 2 and up forward 4. Yeah. All right. So -14 is kind of a weird one because it's not quite launch punishable, but a lot of characters have a really heavy -14 frame punish. So it's kind of like a specialized punish, where the move is can be heavily punished but not launched in most cases. So there's different kind of classes of punishable moves that you can use to group moves together to help you remember how punishable moves are. Since there's, each character has over 100 moves, and there's 36 characters in the game. That's 3,600 moves. You can't remember all 3,600 moves. And we're getting more characters added. So to help you remember, there are some moves that are very similar across multiple characters that are all that have the same frames usually. There are exceptions. So you can learn what those exceptions are, and that way it makes it easier to remember. So hop kicks, the generic hop kicks tend to be -13. And so a generic hop kick is any kick that they jump up in the air that launches, launches crouchers. So something like Dragonoff's up forward 4 is not considered a hop kick because it doesn't actually launch, even though he gets a mini combo off of it. Also down forward 2s that launch crouchers also tend to be -13. -12 to 13. So like Dragonoff's down forward 2. Let's see if I can I do it? Yeah. So that would be -13. But Nina's, which doesn't launch crouchers, is actually safe. So, yeah, so that's another class of moves that you can use to keep track of things. So in general, though, mid-launchers tend to be punishable. But not all. Typically, if they aren't punishable, they're either really slow or have really bad range, or have some other aspect about them that limit their usefulness. And then all lows tend to be at least while standing 4 punishable. There's only a few lows in the game that aren't at least while standing 4 punishable. While standing 4 is in a generic 11 frame while standing punish. I think every character has one. I think. If not almost every character. Wait, say that again? Oh, that's just while standing 3. Yeah, Lei has while standing 3, which is actually a 10-frame while standing launcher. It's a really good one, but it's also minus 15 on blocks, so you have to be sure that you're actually punishing things. But anyways, so if you want to practice block punishment, it's really important to practice it, because if you're just going to try to block punish in a match, you're not going to be able to react in time, you're not going to know what's punishable, and all that. So what you do is you go into practice mode like I did here. You set the computer to repeat action, and then you repeat action. You can go down the move list. Unfortunately, the move list doesn't tell you what is and is not punishable, so you just kind of have to know or look it up. You can look up frames in RB Norway. But for example, we were talking about Dragunov's down forward 2. So you pick that move from the list, and then you have the computer play it. So the computer will just repeat doing that move. So as I said before, the down forward 2s are either minus 13, minus 12 or 13. So we're not getting the punish on that. You can see the punish just underneath the damage. So that means his is probably 12. So here we go. We get the punish after we block and attack after Dragunov's down forward 2 with a 12-frame punish, but not a 13. So you can practice the timing on this, and if you don't see the punish come up, that means you were too late. I was gonna say something else, but I just forgot. But yeah, so after you get used to now I remember. So out of your block stun, like when you can't actually do anything, you can actually kind of buffer the first move out of that to make punishment easier. So you don't have to hit it at exactly the right time. So like, for example, if I'm doing this, like if you get, Nina's 12-frame punisher is back 2-2. If I just kind of mash back in 2, it'll come out. I don't need to be frame perfect on doing it. It'll come out as long as I'm in a close to it. Yeah. So then you do that for all of the characters' punch moves until you are used to seeing them and knowing what you punish it with. After you've gone through their entire move list, I'm not going to do that because that would take too long. Then we go back to the and then see how we have 5 different actions we can repeat. You would then select another one of his moves that you can punish. Let's see here. What's 1, 2, 1. And pick 3 different moves that you can punish. That are all different negatives, and then try reacting to them. Oops, that was... So that way you can get used to punishing different things. So, yeah, so that way you can get used to seeing different moves come out and knowing that you have to punish something different. That way you get your reactions, you train your reactions to react in time. After you're used to just throwing out that, doing those, I would actually go back in and add a couple of safe moves into the mix, like down forward 1. Well, just have him record doing a down forward 1 in there, and then so now you can't always punish. Sometimes he'll do the down forward 1, and then you're trying to react to it. I'm not doing a great job here, but When he does the down forward one, you don't. And now he's not going to do it. Nice. Yeah, but anyways, so just don't punish the safe moves. That way you get used to reacting to something being punishable as well. So those are all steps that you do in practice mode to train up your ability to punish. So another thing that you can do for block punishing is you can actually practice throw breaking and slow low blocking. So slow lows, you know, are these slow lows that you can see coming, and they give this stagger stun on block, and you get a big punish. A lot of players will just get hit by them because they're not expecting them. They're not trained. They haven't trained themselves to see them and react to them. So one of the things that I do is I set the computer to do one of those slow lows and then a throw. So he does the throw and you break the throw. He does the sweep and you block the sweep. Yeah, so as you can see, it's not exactly easy, but you can use it to get used to seeing it in a controlled environment. You can also change the interval between short, medium, and slow to change up the timing. You've also got random, which is also really useful for once you start getting used to it. That way you won't necessarily know when the computer's going to be attacking. So that's another thing that you can do. Let's see here. Yeah, so anyways, that is block punishment. Now I'm going to show off a program that I wrote to help with the block punishment. You can actually download this program now on seattletekken.com/academy. It only works on PC. So if you only have a PS4 or Xbox, it doesn't work on that. But so you've got the punish practice bot and the punish test bot. Right now, it only works with Dragunov because it takes a lot of time to set up all the moves. But so what the bot does is you start it, you set the CPU opponent action to controller. You are player 1, and the keyboard is player 2. So you'll see the bot will run through the moves. It will tell you what the move is and how minus it is. It looks a bit funky now because it was designed for HD. This is running on 720 instead of 1080. It'll look better on normal displays. It will probably look really small. Eventually I'm going to fix it up so that it will scale properly, but I ran out of time before just showing it off. But yeah, so another thing that's nice about... Wait, hold on. No, right now it's just on seattletekken.com/academy. I haven't released the source code on it yet because I'm concerned about people using it for nefarious purposes. You know, I haven't tried it. So this is built off of the Tekken bot, I took the Tekken bot and modified it, and so a lot of the stuff was set up from that, and I'm just using what he already created. What I didn't want to do is just have someone be able to have an electric button, which you could easily set up with. Yeah. But there's a lot more that will be doable with this. One thing though is that commands will tend to not work if you're not running at a strong 60 frames per second. So this laptop is a little underpowered, so you might see some of the moves not work properly. But also, one of the things I wanted to show is that on this one, it will actually block if you don't punish right. So you see here, it will block the 14 frame move, but it will not block the actual punish. So yeah, so that's a nice thing. So there's two different modes for this. The mode it is on currently, it just runs down through the list sequentially and displays the move and how punishable it is. There's the other mode, which is the test, which it's not updating the screen, but it will run through all the moves in random order, and if you punish it, it will take it out of the list. And then so you can run through the entire thing. You can run through the entire list, and then it'll keep on working on ones that you keep missing. So yeah, so that's a tool that's available now, and I'm going to continue working on it, making more characters punishable, and add more functionality to it. Like I want to add things like backdash cancel testing, so you can work on practicing your backdash cancel. I'll tell you if you're doing it right or not. There was something that I set up. It's in. There's an external file. It's not exactly user-friendly. So if you know anything about coding and stuff like that, there's certain XML files that I just kind of cobbled together to store the information. Like if you know XML, then you can probably figure out what's going on with them. But if you don't, then it's way too complicated to get into right now. But anyways, so you can get that again at saddletekken.com/academy. There's a link to it there. Yeah, so I did also want to talk about whiff punishment, because that was the other kind of punishment. All right, so a whiff punishment is it's a reaction to an opponent's whiff. So if the opponent whiffs like a big move, you've got some time to react and punish that. There are other things called like a soft read for a whiff punishment. It's where you set up a situation where you expect them to press a button, and you have them set them up to do something, in which case you would then throw out your whiff punisher. So like if I did a down forward one with Nina and then a sidestep, if they jab back, I could do a sidestep too. I could see them reacting or hitting a button and hit 2. Does that make sense? Yep. All right. So you know, you can also like if they block Nina's down forward 1+2, if they block it, they get pushed back quite a ways. I can backdash. If they try to hit a button, I can hit him with Divine Cannon. Yeah. So, but the problem with the soft reads is that sometimes you can misread them. It looks like you might look like they're doing something, and you do your whiff punish, but they weren't actually doing anything. Like maybe they did try to do buffer a low parry, so they crouched a bit. So on the soft read ones, you have to react pretty fast in order to get them because you're expecting a quick recovery move. Just be wary of that. So then, talked about this briefly earlier. You know, you've got your sidestep punishes. Like Nina's got her sidestep 2, which is a really fast mid launcher auto sidestep. A lot of characters have useful sidestep moves that you can pull out of a sidestep that you can use as a whiff punisher in sidestep situations. So take a look at your character's sidestep moves and see if one of those is useful. So with whiff punishing, you want to have a reliable whiff punisher ready. You want to have that selected before the match starts. Because if you have to decide which whiff punisher to use after you see them whiff, you're going to be too late. So a whiff punisher should be long range and have a good hitbox. Like it'll hit a wide range of things. So for example, like it doesn't necessarily have to launch, but it's best if it does. And it needs to be fast-ish. So like right now for Nina, my default whiff punisher is forward 1+2 because it's got a good chunk of range. Not the most range, but a good chunk of range. And it hits crouchers, it hits people off axis, it hits people in weird situations. So it's really good for that. But I also have the down back 3+4, which I can use to get a launch. The problem with the down back 3+4 is that the hitbox is sometimes wonky. Like sometimes it will just not hit when you should. So I've kind of stopped using that as much. So I don't know. When you're figuring out what your whiff punisher is going to be, make sure that it's got, it'll hit crouchers, it'll have a long range, and the input is not complicated. Like if you have to like assemble a jigsaw puzzle to get the move out, it'll be too late. Let's see here. So you can practice whiff punishment in practice mode, but it's typically not as effective. But you can start in practice mode. The reason why I say it's not typically as effective is because generally you create whiff punishment opportunities through your movement, and there's not a good way of setting it up in practice mode for you to be able to test that. But if you wanted to start getting used to the feel of it, you would go and set the computer to repeat action again, and have it do a move that recovers fairly slowly and doesn't move them too far forward. Then you would back up and you would hang out about out of their range. You would wait for them to see the whiff wait for the move to whiff and then try to punish it. So as you can see, this is pretty easy to do, but at least they can get used to getting it started. For this one, I highly recommend switching the interval between actions to random, so that way you've got a little less, you have to react a little bit better. But also in this scenario, you can also test out a few different moves to see what will work. Because Nina's got a few different things that she can do as a whiff punisher. Some might be better than others, so you can kind of get a feel for what your whiff punishers you want to use this way. So after you get a feel for this kind of whiff punishing, one thing you can do is go into treasure battle against the CPU and just backdash away from the CPU and try to get them to whiff and whiff punish them there. The only problem with with doing that is the CPU just likes to rush down a lot, and it's sometimes really hard to create any sort of space. So something to try. You might not have much success. So the question is there any reason for Treasure Battle instead of CPU? Not exactly. It's just that with Treasure Battle, it feels more like a match rather than CPU. It's just continually going. There's no external pressure for life bars. So one of the things that happen to a lot of players is that when their life bar gets low, they change how they play. And so doing it in Treasure Battle helps you get used to that feeling of, my life bar is low, but I still need to practice spacing and punishment. But it's still not a high stakes, or it's still not as high of stakes as playing against another player. Where if the other, because playing against another player, if the player just sees you just backdashing, and that's all you're doing, they're gonna figure out something to do to beat you. Because if all you're doing is backdashing and waiting for them to whiff, they're not gonna just whiff just so that you can try practice whiff punishing. They're gonna run up and throw you or do a low or something. And so then you're gonna have to kind of play back with them in order to get them into a situation where you could practice whiff punishing again. So that would actually be the last step in practicing, is just try to poke at another player. Do pokes, no launchers or anything, nothing big. Just poke at them and backdash. Try to get them to whiff, and if they do, throw your whiff punisher out, and get used to doing that. Once you start getting comfortable with that, then try incorporating your regular gameplay back into your whiff punishment game plan, and and then slowly incorporate it back in. And once you have that, then work on a new skill. So that covers the punishment side of things. Are there any questions? All right. Yeah. All right, so we got a question.
Okay, so something I see a lot in frame data lists, and it also showed on the bot, was sometimes the move will be listed when it comes to on block. It will be listed, for example, 12-11. I actually don't know what that means.
Okay.
And I was wondering if you could explain it.
Yes, I can. So when a move is listed in the frame data as some frames tilde some other frames, that means the move can actually vary in frames on block. So that move has multiple active frames, which means that it can connect on multiple frames. It used to be very rare for in Tekken for moves to have this multiple active frames property, but in Tekken 7 a lot of moves have it. So in most situations, the most negative number will be the one that will be the one that the go-to. But there are some situations that like for example, if like Dragunov's running 2, I don't actually know what the frames on it are, but that one has a lot of active frames where if you actually Dragunov's running 2 is a bad example because it's always the same. I think it's always the same on block no matter what frame you block it on. But so like an advancing move that that has multiple active frames, you can like they can run into you. The first active frame might whiff, but the second one will hit you and you block it. So that's one way that you can get one of the later active frames. Another one is on Wake Up. If you tech roll, you're invulnerable for a period of time. But if they time their attack at just the right time, the first active frame might connect with you while you are in your invulnerable frames, and the second active frame would then connect with you. Yeah, so most of the moves only have 2 or 3 active frames. Some have a lot more. Actually, most moves still only have 1 active frame. Of the moves that have multiple active frames, it's usually 2 or 3. So, any other questions? Anyone from chat got questions? Hopefully you actually heard all of this, because y'all were quiet. All right. Anyways, let's gonna call the tutorial at this point. The stream will go down again for a bit because I gotta replug stuff. So give us 5 minutes while we get this set back up.